All right, well, let's go for it. So we can start the recording here. Welcome to our online learning session for the US LEC qualifying competition. My name is David. I'm the co-chair of the US LEC committee, and I'm very thankful to have other members of the committee here with us today. And if you have any questions throughout today's presentation, please feel free to throw those messages in the chat or just unmute yourself and let us know that you want us to clarify something. And other than that, let's go ahead and let's get started. We have quite a bit to go through, but should be fairly standard if you've competed with us before. And yeah, we hoped to have a fun time when we all meet up together in Bethesda. So, code of conduct. For all competitions, SCA maintains a zero tolerance policy for harassment, foul behavior, and sexually offensive behavior or actions. And all of the other things on this slide, please do us a favor, go ahead and check out sca.coffee/code of conduct and make sure that you if you see anything that goes against this code of conduct, please feel free to let us know, any of the committee members know. There should be a form on our link tree. We have a link to our link tree later in the slides where you could submit a anonymous form if you do notice something. But feel free to let us know if you notice anything. We are here to support as you all need as competitors and judges. So thank you for that. Moving forward, we are now at the qualifying competition stage. So if you want to look very focused like Fluke is here on the national stage, you do have to participate at this qualifying competition in order to move on. So going through the agenda for today, we'll talk about the general path to get to nationals, and then we'll go through the competition structure. We'll go through visual scoring details. We'll go through technical scoring details, stage details, more or less all the things. And we are recording this a good 6-7 weeks ahead of the competition. So some final details have not been fully ironed out just yet, but please stay tuned with your email to our link tree for updates on the competition itself as we progress closer and closer to that competition date. And we do have an email for any and all questions, USLAC team@gmail.com. It's also going to be at the end of the presentation. Feel free to shoot questions there. But this is the runway for today. And again, here's our link tree. Just nice, easy. We'll try to keep this updated with everything possible. So you can see our rules and regulations and our score sheets are already there. It's thoroughly. The more familiar with the rules and regulations, typically the better or the more prepared you are during the competition itself. Okay, so pathway. We have finished our preliminary season in New Jersey and Texas. We had a lot of fun meeting new competitors and new judges. Very excited. So we have our qualifying competition now, where we will have 24 competitors, and the top 12 of those will move on to the nationals at this year's SEA Expo in Chicago. So during those competitions, the finalist or the winner of the national competition will have the opportunity to go compete at the world level, which is going to be Busan next year. Losing my mind. Either way, it's going to be a lot of fun. So that is the pathway for competitors. And then for judges, we had a lot of fun meeting a lot of new faces in the preliminaries, and anyone is welcome to join us at the qualifying level. If you've judged with us in the past at visual level or technical level, feel free to continue on that pathway or switch it up if you are curious and want to try something new. The qualifying level is a great way to get a lot of practice in, and we will be doing a full day's calibration workshop to make sure that you are feeling prepared for judging. After the qualifying competition, you will be able to join us at nationals by invitation. We'll shoot you an email and we'll say something along the lines of, we've had a lovely time judging with you. We'd love to see you in Chicago. Are you going to be able to join? Something like that. And there are world judge qualifying events throughout the year. I'm not sure if there's one at Chicago this time, but we will keep you posted if you're interested in judging at the world level. And beyond that, if you are curious and or you do like judging with us and hopefully you enjoy our company, you could always feel free to reach out and see if we have open spots on the committee to help plan and bring this together. We're also looking for new faces with the team. So those are the pathways, and let us move on. There is a judges specific world code of conduct from the world level. This is on the link tree. Do feel free to go ahead, give this a scan, or just access it via the link tree for how to kind of comport yourself throughout the competition for your competitors. But moving on, we are, again, the end goal of all this is to compete and judge at the world level. So the World Coffee Champs core values: support, respect, coffee excellence, professionalism, and honesty. So moving on, conflicts of interest, you cannot judge and compete in the same competition in the same season. And if I could ask whoever's on the phone right now to mute themselves real quick, much appreciated. The conflicts of interest here, we essentially just let us know if you do have anyone on the competitors list or vice versa, the judges list, who you do know you have worked with in the past or you do have a conflict of interest. You can let us know at uscompetitions@sca.coffee or at uslecteam at gmail.com. Essentially, if you do not let us know and we find out afterwards, this could be grounds for disqualification. So just keep us posted. All right, the competition itself. So baristas will be judged on visual attributes, identical patterns, on pairs of pours, contrast, overall impression. There's a whole score sheet, and Pond will take you through it in just a bit. But I will tell you about the structure. So the structure itself, single round competition this time. There's a lot of you and only so much time, so it's going to be a single round with 3 sets of drinks. So within each set, you will have a predetermined design, and we will hope that you are able to make the 2 designs within the set identical to the predetermined design. There's a scoring rubric on that. In this round, you'll be pouring 2 free pour lattes, 2 free pour macchiatos, and 2 designer lattes within a 11-minute performance time. This round structure is here to get you guys nice and practiced within doing 3 drinks in a single round. We do this quite a bit at nationals, so here to kind of get those creative juices flowing, especially after the preliminary where you had to do free pour lattes and free pour macchiatos. So here we're adding that designer, getting it nice and fun. Cool. So I do want to highlight here for stage performances, we do ask that you bring 1 photograph for each of your 3 designs. And we ask that you write or label those designs with the pattern that you are going to be drawing it on. So your free pour latte picture must have free pour latte on it, so on and so forth. Make that super clear so that there's no confusion on the judge's side, and it is part of the rules. And to make it abundantly clear here as well, the competitor must present drinks in the order in which the drink categories are set on the visual and technical score sheets. I'm going to spell it out for you. Present your free pour latte first, your free pour macchiato second, and your designer latte third. So keep that in mind, and it's on the slide. It's in the rules and regulations. Go ahead and do that if you can. All right. So yeah, again, 11 minutes. You got 6 drinks. Should be plenty of time. And if you haven't done a designer latte, you should have some time to practice your etching and do your etching and all of that. And the top 12 scores will move on to the again, the national competition there. Okay, and just to give you a picture as of the national rounds. So round 1 of national competition is 2 sets of free pour lattes and 1 set of free pour macchiatos, which is the same as the semifinal round of World Latte Art level. And then the final round, which is the same as the World Latte Art final round, 2 sets of free pour lattes and 1 set of designer lattes. So yeah, so 6 drinks at the national level as well. So getting y'all used to that here. Beverage definition. Lattes, you can use single, doubles, or ristrettos. Macchiatos, you can use singles or ristrettos. And the extraction times, this more falls in the technical judge side of things, but we do want you to pull shots that could taste good. So 15 seconds for macchiatos, 20 seconds for lattes, and you have to use the coffee and milk provided by the competition at the venue, and if you do not, you'll get a 0. Very straightforward. If you are confused about free pour versus designer, what do I mean? I'm just throwing these words around. Free pour means you've got your pitcher in your hand and you got your cup in the other hand and you're pouring like that. Designer means that you can etch. So with an etching tool, you can use color, a single color. And yeah, so your free pour, no etching. Designer, go ahead and etch. All right, moving on. When you are bringing stuff, there is a suggested list of what to bring for the competition itself in the rules and regulations. But for now, bring your towels that you'll need for your station. Bring your milk pitchers that you'll need for all of your drinks. And bring a nice apron for the competition as well. It's part of your professionalism score. So those are recommended to have. And of course, nice labeled photos of your designs. You do not have to put drawings or pictures of what it's supposed to represent, but clearly labeling them out is required. So yeah, let's get that going. For my judges, judges should confidently and competently assess a barista's performance in the visual and technical evaluation and should consistently use the full scoring range. So we'll talk about this in a bit, but the range for our kind of qualitative scores goes from 0 to 6. We have that full range. We expect you to use that full range and to avoid safe scoring, just making sure that we're scoring the drinks accurately and making sure that we are calibrated in that way. So that's why we do that all-day workshop the day before the competition. So is that. Our panel for judging, we will have 1 head judge, a technical judge, and 2 visual judges. Depending on the quantity of judges, there may also be a shadow judge, which will also be there to kind of assess the technical layout of the station, as well as some other things. So those are the judging panels for each competitor. And here is the evaluation scale itself. So on the score sheet, we have yes and no categories and 0 to 6 categories. So yes is 1 point, no is 0, And then for our 0 to 6, we have labels for each stage from 0 to 6. Unacceptable 0, acceptable 1, average 2, good 3, very good 4, excellent 5, extraordinary 6. These names are here to help you while scoring. So if you look at a cup and you're trying to describe the visual foam quality, is it good or is it very good? Or is it good, but better than good, but not quite very good? So we'll go through this in detail, but again, the verbiage is there to assist you while scoring these strings. Okay. I will also point out, we do have half points that we call pluses in between the 1 through 6, acceptable plus, average plus, good plus, etc., to allow for a little more of that flexibility there. And remembering that there is no 0.5 because there is no real unacceptable plus while scoring. Okay, and that is the initial segment of this in terms of structure and the competition itself. And I'm going to pass it off to Pond to go through some of the visual related stuff here. And again, if you have any questions on anything I've said thus far, please feel free to throw it in the chat or raise your hand. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. And hello, everyone. Hope you're having a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining us. So I'm just going to be straight to the point. So let's dive into it. For visual evaluation, we're going to be looking at a few different categories here of how we judge. And so that is overall appealing look, harmony, contrast, quality of foam, level of difficulty. So that's the main categories that we judge at. Next slide, please. So we're just going to take some look at some photos for kind of designs you could be expecting to see or similar stuff from Portland 2023. So there's one there. And next slide. Another one. We're not going to be going over judging these, but they're just kind of examples for right now. And some examples from the world stage are here. Very nice. So those show, yeah, the actual sheets there, and you can see some competitors use drawings to help aid in their sheets, but those are not required, as David said earlier. Next slide. Here's another one from the world stage, showing a map. Very cool. And then next slide. Here's another one from the world stage. Excellent. So next slide. How are my cups scored? We're going to analyze the scoring scale that David had gone over and break down how a drink is scored, as well as build detailed knowledge of the score sheets, because we want you, competitor or judge, to know the score sheet basically with your eyes closed. You could visualize it. I promise you, I dream of it all the time. All right, next slide. Judging language. So our goal is to provide clear, consistent, neutral, and unbiased comments for both our scores as well as the competitor. So we're trying to make sure that you can look at your score sheet as a competitor and understand everything that we've said. And it's very, there's no questions that need to be asked. If you have questions, of course, you're allowed to ask them, but hopefully you won't if we are doing the best that we can. Next slide. So we have some supportive material here. I'll just wait a few seconds. So if anyone would like to scan that QR code and get some of that supportive material, I do believe that's also in our link tree. So if you don't catch it now, we will be providing it also later during calibration. All right, next slide. Visual judging. So for free pour, what's challenging? What patterns do you know? And what will our evaluation be based on? Essentially, free pour, as David said, you're not using any color or any etching tools, which provides a challenge within itself. And yeah, you've seen some patterns already from our examples, but let's skip right to the next slide. This is the score sheet that you will know to love and just be thinking about all the time up until our competition. So as you can see, we have 3 cups on the side here for visual aid if we want to draw designs or show where anything happens in the cup. Those are for you for every single drink. So we have our free pour latte, our macchiato, and then our designer latte. Competitors, please just note how this score sheet looks because you're expected to present your drinks in the order they are on the score sheet. So we're expecting free pour first, macchiato second, and designer latte third. Please present them in those orders. But yeah, we'll be diving deeper into the score sheet as we continue on. So next slide. So for total scoring, we have 72 points available for free pour latte, 72 for the macchiato, and 72 for the designer latte, as well as 24 for performance. So for visual side, you have a possible score of 240 points total per score sheet. With 2 visual judges, that gives you a total of 480 possible points. And then tech, you have a possibility of 99 points for a total of 579 possible points for the entire competition. Next slide. So we, within these points, there are some multipliers that you can get. So those are always just extra considerate categories. So the first one is 2 identical patterns matching the presented picture. I'll also go over all these categories in detail as we continue on. And then contrast between ingredients is also a 2 times multiplier. Then level of difficulty successfully achieved is a 2 times multiplier. And then finally, overall appealing impression is a 4 times multiplier. So that's the big one there with a total possible of 24 points in that category. Great, next slide. So let's start going over the categories. 2 patterns and identical to picture presented. So this is the only section for my judges where you will be scoring both drinks, both your own drink that is presented to you and the one that is presented to your other visual judge. Otherwise, you will not be looking at your other, the drink presented to the other judge. It's not about the quality of the pattern. Points are awarded for replicating the pattern shown between both cups and the picture presented. 2.5 points will be awarded if one was identical, but the other one bore no resemblance. So an extreme example of this would be if someone did a seahorse for their picture presented to the stage, and then one cup was a seahorse, another one was a Rosetta for some reason. There was a time crunch, panic, so someone just did a Rosetta instead. That would be where 2.5 points would be awarded. All right, next slide. So this is some great examples of comparing cups. So you can see in the center here, we have our pictures presented for a little train. And so this is where we'd start, counting the dots for the wheels under the train, seeing how similar it is, the size of the patterns, where that Rosetta at the bottom lands. And perfect example of that. And same with the unicorn there, making sure those Rosettas look like they're in the same spots. The wings are the same shape, everything like that. So next slide. Visual foam quality. This one is very fun because it's the hardest to talk about digitally because it's very hard to capture the foam quality of latte art through a photograph. But judges should assess this immediately upon being presented with a cup because, as we all know, the longer you let milk set, the more it tends to get that dry foam. The quality starts degrading basically immediately after you pour it. So we want to be able to award the most points and give what is immediately presented to us. But we do have to wait down until it is in front in the marked design point to judge. So judges should assess the visual quality of the foam for a bubble-free, smooth, glossy, rich consistency. This is the first score that is recorded, not after the drink has sat for a while, as the foam will change as it cools, as I just said. All right, next slide. Contrast between ingredients. So this, again, we're only focusing on the drink in front of us. And so high points are awarded for sharp contrast between crema and milk foam there. But we do take into consideration to those areas of pattern that may have intentionally been mixed to create the pattern. So a great example is kind of feathers or hair. Sometimes competitors will intentionally blur that a little bit more to give the effect of feathers or hair to kind of make it look softer. And so we do want to take that in consideration, especially if the competitor is doing it intentionally. We do not want to dock points for that. But everyone in chat, this is the first time, so don't be afraid to talk. How would you score this drink above with what I just said about the consideration of feathers or hair? Here. Anyone want to talk about it? It's always silent at first. It's okay. That's fine. 4.5. Wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate that, Kayla. So yeah, we do have, so if we look pretty closely, it is hard to tell, again, because it's a picture, but there are a lot of very clean lines. They're a little soft, but I assume that's because the photo was taken like a couple minutes after the pour was done. But overall, you can tell a lot of clean lines here between different parts. The eye is bleeding into the area around it a little bit, but there are a lot of clean lines. I'd probably say a 4, like very good. Just trying to, take in consideration these feathery hair textures. I think it's hair. Here looking softer. So those do blend in a little bit more, but we still can see like the individual lines of it. So it's not like a total mess there. So I'd say, yeah, around 4. So next slide. All right, how about this cup here? So this looks like a rooster, and yeah, we have a lot of feathers going on, but there's other stuff too. So I want at least 2 people to say something in chat. I believe in you all. Right? Got a 3, got a 2.5. I'm feeling, yeah, around like 2.53, I think is pretty solid there. Again, for the feathers, we can see a pretty, we can kind of make out some of the differences between there. But, there is a little bit of softness, especially up at the top with that. And the eye looks like it's a little lost there, perhaps. So I think I would agree with that. All right, next slide. Harmony, size, and position. This is my favorite category. So judges are going to score the cup that is presented to them. Again, please only score the cup that's in front of you. We expect the handle to be at 3 o'clock, assuming that the judge is right-handed. So what we're looking for is if it's positioned well in the cup. If it's a symmetrical design, we expect it to be symmetrical. So if you're going to pour a 15 stack tulip, we want that to be symmetrical because tulips are expected to be symmetrical. However, if it's not a symmetrical design, we're looking at how it's positioned, the way it's taking up space, and is it too crowded? Are there too many elements? Are there not enough elements? We're looking at negative space as well. This B, I think, is a great example because one might say, oh, is this a little too crowded? And then what I like to do is, if you think it's too crowded, visualize taking an element out. So like, let's say we take that little flower out, and now the cup feels kind of empty without that component. So with it in, it's a better use of the space is how you can look at that. And you can do it the reverse. Say above its little antenna, there could be like a little dot or something on the right side to like kind of fill up that space. But if we visualize a dot there, does it now feel too crowded? And I would say yes. So that's a good way to kind of visualize this category. All right, next slide. Successfully achieved level of difficulty. So this one, again, we're judging the cup that is in front of us, and high scores should only be awarded to difficult patterns that are successfully achieved. Points should be awarded what is actually presented in the cup. If a competitor attempts a very difficult pattern but fails to represent that pattern at all in its presented drink, a low score should be expected. So this is one of those high risk, high reward situations. We're looking at how many elements you have going on, how difficult they are to achieve, and how well you achieve them. So if you have a lot of different elements and they're all achieved really well, you'll get a really good score. However, if they're not, you'll get a lower score. But if you have a simpler pattern that is achieved well, we'll accommodate that and we'll find the middle ground there, depending on complexity and how well it was achieved. Next slide. Overall appealing look. So judges should review the look of the drink in its totality based on its personal impact on them, including creativity in the cup. To score this section, it may be worth considering how a customer rather than a coffee professional may score the presented pattern. We like to add this second part at the end because I know it's really easy to be in the coffee industry and grow to see some really crazy things and like have our experiences kind of be shaded a little bit because of it. Being like, oh, that was a really nice tulip that was presented, but like in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh, I've seen a million tulips or something like that. So try to come in as a customer rather than a coffee person and think about the experience you'd be getting if you were seeing this when you don't see latte art 24/7, you know, like how does it feel to look at this? Um, my favorite thing to say about this category is what would your mom think about this? Just kind of think of it like that. Rather than being a coffee professional. All right, next slide, please. Now we have professional performance. We're looking for eye contact. Professional attire means an apron. That's what we mean by professional attire. An explanation of the drinks and what you're doing, perhaps like the components you're putting into the drink. Your quality of images, we're just looking for a clear photograph of your images. And we also, when you set the drinks down, we're looking if there's any spills on the side of the cups. But yeah, this category is all about the hospitality. We want to feel like we're customers in your space. It's expecting to be warm and welcome. All right, next slide. Oh, a little bit more on this. So how this is all about how the competitor projects to the audience and the confidence, flair, style they display in the production of their drinks. Hospitality skills include service skills, warmth, body language, professionalism, and tone they exhibit in their service to the judges. All right, and I believe that is the end of me. I can't see who is here. Sorry, I'm not sure who's taking over tech.
Yeah, I think I'm taking tech.
Thank you, David.
Yep, of course. All right, I am back. So tech judging, or you know, one of the easiest things to judge. Did it happen or did it not? So let's go through. And again, the evaluation scale is the same here. Yes and no, 1 or 0, and 0 through 6 with the half points in between. So tech espresso scoring is fairly straightforward. We evaluate at all 3 drinks. So flushing the group head before the shot is inserted. Is the filter basket dry or clean before dosing? Acceptable spill waste is when you're grinding and tamping, are you spilling grounds everywhere? Did you not? This is less of a concern for LAC, but still want to make sure you're using just the right amount of coffee. Consistent dosing and tamping. This is where we will be paying attention to how you dose and tamp your portafilters for each individual drink. And we want to make sure that it is, there is intent behind the routine you use to dose and tamp. So by example, what I mean here is, let's say you're pulling 2 shots for your latte. And on the first, you settle it on the portafilter forks or on the grinder forks 3 times. You spin a distribution tool on it 3 times. You spin the tamper on it, and you tamp. And then the other one, you just take it straight out of the portafilter, out of the grinder, and you tamp it. Not very consistent, and so that gets us a 0. We are not, we're not counting settles and tamps to be like, oh, on this one you settled it 3 times, on the other one you settled it 4. We're more looking for intent behind the routine to make sure that it's intended to be consistent. Clean portafilters before insert refers to the wings and the basket itself, and making sure that there's no grounds there. Insert and brew immediately. We see this, not often, but we see it. And to be very clear on this, the scoring here is if you insert your portafilter into the espresso machine and you do something else before engaging the group head, this gets a 0. So let's say you insert the portafilter into the group head, you grab a cup, and then you put it under, and then you engage the group head. That is not immediately. You did something else before brewing. So instead, your workflow would be insert, engage the group head, grab your cups. So that is that evaluation there. Extraction time. This is again, or this is where we are looking for your shot times. If you're pulling multiple shots per drink, to be within 3 seconds of each other. The macchiatos, we are looking for a minimum of 15 seconds, but the lattes, we want them to be within 3 seconds of each other for that consistency there. Cool. So that's espresso. Again, fairly straightforward, just good barista skills and habits. And more of the same on the milk side. Empty, clean pitcher at start. The technical judges will be looking for water, towel lint, any milk residue, all this stuff. We want to make sure that these pitchers are squeaky clean, since the drink is going to be used for judges' drinks. Purge the steam wand before steaming, and clean the steam wand after steaming, and purge the steam wand after steaming as well. And so that is all of that in terms of, kind of those audio cues for the technical judges here. Did you hear that steam wand before? Did you hear the steam wand after? Is the steam wand clean after? And then acceptable milk waste at the end. We are looking for each set of drinks, about 3 ounces or less. So while we don't need the pitcher to be completely empty of milk, you don't need to use every last single drop. You do have a little wiggle room there. We do want to not use too much milk for every drink. So that is that as well. All right, moving forward, our key tech scores. Hygiene and performance. Hygiene is a kind of encompassing your towel usage. Did you use your bar towel to wipe down the steam wand? Did you use steam wand rag to wipe out your portafilter? That kind of stuff. Did you drop something on the floor and then use it for something else? Did you touch your face and then touch the cup? Does your pitcher have a sticker on the pitcher lip that could harbor something? So it's kind of the catch-all for that kind of stuff. Again, picturing that these drinks will be served, and if you were serving these in an actual cafe environment, are you doing things in a hygienic manner? This also includes fingertips getting a little close to the surface of the cup. The workspace organized and clean at start and in the end is a score that encompasses your organization. It is how organized is your station before and after your performance. Before, we want to see, a nice mise en place, everything where you need it to be, nothing where it doesn't need to be. And after, is it better than when you left it? Are things neatly put together, or did you just kind of throw a towel over your espresso machine and call it good? So that is that. Our overall impression is from the technical perspective, kind of your workflow. Did you have any technical hiccups? Did you fumble the portafilter a couple times? Did you feel uncomfortable with the grinder and getting it to dose consistently? Did you handle the etching tool well? That kind of stuff. So on and so forth. So yeah, that is our kind of overall impression score for technical judges. It does carry this nice big 6 times multiplier on it. So do pay attention to that score as you are working through your routine, working through your flow, and your kind of machine proficiency, so to speak. All right. We do have a whole section in our rules and regulations dedicated to things that may disqualify you in the competition. So just to call out a couple, no liquids or ingredients can be placed or poured on top of the machine. No liquids on top of the machine. No liquids on top of the machine. Even like a drop of water on an espresso cup that goes on top could count. Competitors may not change settings on the espresso machine itself. The grinder, of course, you can go ahead and change the grind size and the timing for whatever you see fit. If you don't declare a potential conflict, you get DQ'd and more. So this also does include if you forget something during your performance and someone has to go get it for you, or someone does go get it for you, that's not yourself. That is DQ as well. So there's a whole section. I highly encourage reading it. And that is it for our technical scores and kind of the scoring evaluation on the whole. I'll pause for a second. Any questions on scoring or evaluation at this point? All right, cool. So moving on. So competition itself, we will have again more precise communication when we get closer to the competition itself. But we are planning on a all-day calibration. Around 9 to 3-ish on for the judges side. So we will start. We'll go through some calibration rounds. And we'll wrap it up that way. And then Saturday, Sunday, all day competitions. We calibrate beforehand, get our score sheets ready. We judge all day long. There will be a lunch break. And then we announce on Sunday. So if you do end up joining us, we very much look forward to having you. Should be a lot of experience, a lot of cool pours to see, and yeah, you get to hang out with us. So it's a pretty fun time. Very much looking forward to it on the judges' side. For competitors, there will be practice times on Friday this time. We are planning to have the venue open on Friday so that you will be able to practice the day or 2 days prior to your actual competition time. And this will allow us to have a more efficient kind of competition scheduling here. So we will have your designated practice time a couple of weeks prior to the competition after registration closes and we have a better sense of everything. And again, on the competition day, your time will be announced around that same time, and you get your go at it. And we'll hope to announce by the end of day on Sunday. So that is how it is going to go. You get 30 minutes of practice time. You will not get more practice time if you're late. And if you miss it entirely, you don't get it back. Of course, if there are extenuating circumstances, let us know. We try to be understanding. But yeah, your practice time is your practice time. For the competition itself, the way we break it down is you have a 5 minutes. So you have your cart to stage where you grab all your belongings, make sure they're there, make sure you're ready. And then you go to the stage and your preparation time, your setup time begins. So this is your 5 minutes to make sure that everything is where you want it, to make sure that everything is as clean as you want it. And you are good to go for your competition. If you forget something, go ahead and grab it. Again, you need to grab it yourself, and only you, the competitor, and our volunteers can be there while you are setting up. The competition time itself, you have 11 minutes. You must call time to begin your competition, and our timekeeper will begin that time when you start. The timekeeper will give a 5-minute, a 3-minute, and a 1 minute and 30 seconds during that 11-minute competition time. If you want to customize that, you can, but those are the standard ones. And so, yeah, so just be aware of those times as you are progressing through the competition. You may ask for a time check at any point, and you have to stop your competition time by saying time again. Once that is done, the timekeeper will present the time to the presiding head judge for recording, and that's it. You won't be penalized or rewarded for finishing early, although there are time penalties, 1 point per second when you go over time. So keep that in mind as well. Yeah, judges drinks will be served at the judges presentation table, which is typically a perpendicular table to the espresso machine itself. All right. Yep, and there it is. Every second you go over the 11-minute competition time, you lose 1 point. If you go over by 2 minutes, so 13 minutes, you will be DQ'd. You can only use the work area provided, and please don't bring an entire table, because again, that will lead to DQ. But there should be sufficient space to house all of your pitchers, your milk, accessories, and whatever you may need. When you call time and you're done, please do not start cleaning. Please don't touch your station, as the technical judges need to evaluate the station and the state of your station as you finished. But please allow yourself to be whisked away by the wonderful MC at the time, for a nice little post game, a little chit chat, and then after that you'll be allowed to clean up. So cleanup will begin after judges have time to inspect. You have to, after you're done, remove everything that you brought, and leave it cleaner than you found it for the next competitor, and all that. And depending on the exact setup, there may be a runner who will clear drinks as needed throughout the competition. So keep that in mind as well. If there is a technical problem with any of the equipment, AV, espresso, grinder, electrical, what have you, you may call your hand or raise your hand for a technical timeout, and the head judge there will discuss with you and determine the nature of the technical timeout and make a call on any time given back to you or whatnot in order to make sure that you have a fair competition there. And there's more details on this in the R&R, but should be pretty straightforward. If something's not going right during the competition, let's say the espresso machine has run out of water, that won't happen. But if it does, then that certainly counts. So yeah, keep that in mind. Oh yeah, there's all the details. So if a technician needs to fix it, you'll get your time back and you will get further time for that competition. And if it's going to result in you needing to be rescheduled, you will be rescheduled, and you'll get another go at it there. Unfamiliarity with competition equipment is not grounds for a technical timeout, and inconsistency will work between group heads will work during the preparation time only. So yeah, so again, read this in full, keep it in mind. We will be checking the equipment in detail prior to the competition itself. So so hopefully nothing bad happens. Knock on wood. All right, so again, arrive early and be ready to be called up once it's getting close to your competition time. So your stage to cart time will be listed on the schedule, so just be ready around that time. We will try to run on time, ideally a little early, so that these times on the schedules remain accurate. Again, bring your apron, smallwares, and labeled photographs of all 3 of your designs. As has been announced on Instagram, we will be at the AMP by Strathmore, the address is here. It's also on Instagram. The lottery is currently open. There's 8 spots open for the lottery. After the lottery has closed, there will be spots for open registration. And we hope to have that announced pretty soon, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we can have that firm date ready for you. But stay tuned. Again, reach out to us if you have any questions. We will post it on our link tree when it is live, and I believe there is a function on the link tree to get notifications when we update it as well. So thank you for your patience there. For the espresso machine, if you competed with us last year, good news, it's the same machine. It's the Rancilio Specialty Invicta, pretty straightforward espresso machine. Even though it does have some automatic volumetric features, we will be operating the machine in continuous mode, and we will be there's 3 buttons on the group heads. We'll be blocking off 2 of them. So pretty straightforward. You press 1 button to engage group head, and press it again to disengage the group head. And the steam ones, if you turn it to the right, it's a flush. If you turn it to the left, a quarter turn, that will turn it on all the way at the steam pressure, typically around 1.5-ish bars there. But yeah, that'll be determined on site. So yeah, same espresso machine, should be pretty straightforward. And we'll have more equipment details a little bit closer to the competition time itself. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's roll through some pretty quick calibration so that we are aligned. Don't want to take up too much time, but we'll go through a couple of nice examples just to get you warmed up, get us feeling calibrated. So warm up those fingers, hop in the chat, and just throw out numbers willy-nilly. Doesn't matter if you are correct or if you are the closest. We're not playing Price is Right here. So let's go ahead, and this is our first. It is a designer latte, and it is a unicorn with a little tree and some ground in the back. I am going to choose to skip visual foam quality on more or less all of these. I may call it out for a couple, but as Pond said earlier, evaluating visual foam quality on a digital photograph is really hard. So we are going to save that for in-person calibration. But typically, if you are a competitor and you're curious how are we scoring visual foam quality, a full description's in the rules and regulations. But again, we want it to be shiny. We want it to be glossy. We don't want to see any big bubbles. We want it to be nice and consistent. And so yeah, so we can't get that same level of detail on photograph. So I'm going to skip it for now, but should be pretty straightforward when we get there in person. What I can ask us to score is contrast. So in the chat, please go ahead and give me your contrast score. I will point out we do have some washing around the edge of the cup. The back 2 legs are doing a little thing. They're a little bowed. They're kind of touching. Got a little splotch by the tail. Got a little washing on the body. And the interior of the Rosetta's a little weird, but if you were going to score the contrast here, can I get a number in the chat? Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Kayla. We got a 3.5, got a 3 from Pond. And yeah, I'd say we're in that range. Good, not very good. You got some nice details. I might lean a little closer to good than good plus, if only because the tree itself is lacking a little detail. But we're in that range, so that's looking good. Let's go through our harmony score. Is this too many things? Is it just right? Is it filling it well? How am I feeling? Give us a quick score there. Straight off the dome, Kayla says it's a very good. I would probably agree. I think that's about right. Yeah. Maybe I might say, this little star at the top and the unicorn horn is a little close, but it does fill everything quite nice. I would say the tree is a little close to the everything else. So it's on the verge of being just a bit busy, but it's fairly pleasing overall. So yeah, very good, nice. Our level of difficulty successfully achieved. We have quite a few elements. Some risottos, some dry foam work, and some of the etching work required to make this design a reality. Do we feel like it was very difficult? A and B, was it done with mastery? Was it done well? Was it done not so well? What do we think on that? Cool. So we got another very good in the chat. Um, some good pluses, I would say. Yeah, we're in that range. Again, on the execution of some elements, it's not quite there, but it is quite nice overall. I'd say maybe I believe this tree is etched, and the etching line itself kind of goes a little wonky. So for that reason, I might lean towards a good plus, but we're in that range, yeah. And then overall appealing impression, you bring your friend to the cafe on a Saturday morning, barista whips this out, throws it on the table in front of you. What's your gut reaction when you see this? Um, I would say, yeah, very good plus. I would be pleasantly surprised, and I would definitely take out my phone, snap a photo immediately, and have some sort of witty caption on Instagram. Why not? Cool. Thank you all. Feeling pretty calibrated there. Um, uh, we won't go too deep on this one. Let's do a contrast score. I do want to say, again, this is a nice use of color on your designer lattes. Again, only one color can be used. The way that the yellow was used for the sun here, or harvest moon, whatever you want to call it, is quite pleasing. But go ahead, give me a contrast score. So again, nice big old wash on the rim. Some other elements kind of fuzzy, but we got some fuzzy creatures here. How are we feeling? We got a 3, we got a good. Um, and I would say, yeah, generally good. Yeah, that big wash is not so good. The rest of the design is fairly good. Um, you can see that the bunny's head in particular is lacking a little bit of definition. And the rosetta on the leaf is also lacking a little bit of definition. So I think a good is appropriate. Okay, that is nice. Let's go to this next one. So we have two pictures and we have a reference image. So go ahead and give me a two identical pictures score. So here is a nice game of count the elements. And did we get all of them? So off the rip, we're pretty close. Um, the interior of the beta fish is lacking a little definition there, but we have all of our wisps, we have all of our bubbles, we have all of the tails, and we have the overall shape. The shape of the face is a little different in reality. And the again, the interior is a little different. The dorsal fin, fish anatomy, I think is it's there. It's not quite well executed. So yeah, how are we feeling on a score for this two identical here? 3.5, 2.53. Yeah, I'd say in the good plus range, having a relatively complex design and having it there together is nice. Are there differences in execution? Certainly. Um, but yeah, we're pretty close there. So that's good there. Okay. Speed running through. Let's do a level of difficulty score on this bear here. So quick exercise, how many things do we have? And let's start with the etching. So we have the highlights on all of its legs. We have the little grass it's standing on, its little toes, the nose, the fish, the eyes, the sweat coming off the fish, or the water sprinkling off the fish. And yeah, so there's all that. Took a little while. We got our Rosettas, we got the body, we got some more dry foam work. How are we feeling on level of difficulty successfully achieved? Would you call this mastered? Would you call this done well? Is this complex? Is this hard to do? What are we feeling here? We got a good plus, we got a very good plus. And yeah, we are in that range. I might be leaning towards a good plus very good myself, if only due to there's some slight messiness on some of the Rosettas. And and the definition on the um definition something else. But yeah, execution on the dry foam work and the body itself is a little sloppy. But I think we're in the very good to good plus range there. Um, but yeah, I mean, um, the picture itself is quite nice, and would get rewarded an overall appealing impression for me. Okay, so moving forward, got ourselves a little dolphin. Again, another use of color here, going on with designer lattes. How are we feeling about our harmony score on this one? Are we sitting how's the overall image here in relation to everything else? We've got some goods in the chat, and I would agree. It's sitting a little low. We've got some negative space on the top left. The tree is maybe angled a little closer to the dolphin. Would it be better if the tree was angled a little bit more up? Might be a little more harmonious. But otherwise, good. It's good. It's a good score. Okay. Another two identical for a macchiato there. Give that a quick score. So we have our elements. The elements are definitely executed a bit differently this go around. So yeah, let's see that score there. Got a 2.5. Um, and yeah, I would say, yeah, it's there. It's recognizable. Is the execution where we want it? In terms of design or of the elements being exactly there? Not quite. Also, the eye is very different. The eye is maybe better on the macchiatos than it is on the picture. So yeah, this is probably in the 2.5 range here. Um, and that's that. We have this little eagle here. Can I get a level of difficulty score on the Rosettas? And I mean the overall thing, but it's this picture is mostly Rosettas and some dry homework. But how are we feeling on the Rosettas here? Three. Yeah, fairly well done. Not necessarily mastered, but certainly not easy, not a safe design, so to speak. So yeah, 2.5, 3. Yeah, I'm into it. Cool. All right, we got some turtles here. And let's go ahead and can I get an overall appealing impression score on let's say the right turtle here? Oh, we got a 2.5, we got a 2. Yep, I would say, if you took your friend to that cafe on a Saturday, this gets put in front of you, um, you'd be like, cool, that's a design. I haven't seen that one before. And you might be a little bit confused about what it was without any explanation. And then, maybe the breeze is like, oh, it's a turtle, and you're like, oh, cute, but not immediately obvious there. Cool. Could we say something for my judges? We could probably say something like, if the design was executed at a higher level, may have been more clear, maybe more immediate in its realism, something like that. Okay, got a pair of rams. Let's do contrast score on the left one here. Just a quick up or down. Got a 1.5. Yep. It's pretty fuzzy and more than reasonable fuzziness for a RAM. And we have some washing in the cup as well. Yeah, I'd say 1.5 to 2 is about right. Could be a little bit sharper as we get forward. All right. We have our hummingbird. Let's do a quick symmetry, harmony, position score here. Obviously, it's not symmetrical, but how do all of the elements play together? Do we feel like this dot at the top is doing a lot, or do we not need it so much? Do we feel like this beak here is getting a little close, or is it okay? How are we think? We got good. Um, and yeah, I'd say maybe a little higher than good. It does fill up the cup fairly well. Maybe some negative space on the right. So yeah, I might be a little closer to a good plus, but we're certainly within that range. Cool. All right. I'm gonna skip this guy, skip that guy. Um, just for the vibes, if I could get a overall appealing impression check on our poodle friend here. Walk into a cafe, get a poodle. Um, I always feel like this poodle's on roller skates for whatever reason, so this poodle's especially cool to me. But yeah, overall appealing impression on this guy here in the chat. Um, what are we thinking? Got a good plus. Um, and yeah, I'd say that's about right. Cool. This means that um, we're getting more aligned with our scoring in terms of not automatically giving the poodle an excellent plus. But cool. So, thank you for the scores. Let's go ahead and go for a couple of macchiatos, and we'll close this out. Macchiatos, when we are scoring levels of difficulty, we are mindful that you are doing a very complex design in a very small cup. So let's go for this little bunny here on some grass. How are we feeling? So we got a tulip, we have an Rosetta, we got a couple dots, some dry line work. Maybe not the hardest thing you could do in a macchiato, but certainly not easy. And execution, a little fuzzy. I think that's a shine on the bottom left and not milk. But yeah, we got a 3, we got a good on the level of difficulty. Could this be executed better? Perhaps. Yeah, I'd say good plus here in that range, depending on what it looks like in real life. But yeah, that's about right. A rose here. Uh, let's not score it, but just looking at it, it's slightly off kilter here. I'm kind of turning my head to match it. So for a symmetry score, the pull through is not symmetrical. You can see it's a little bit bigger on the right than on the left. So this would get marked down accordingly there. So just calling that out. If you are doing a symmetrical design, it had better be symmetrical. Cool. We got a single petal rose here. Let's do a quick contrast score on the right cup. How are we feeling on that guy? Or is it, I know the picture quality is a little iffy, but are we clear? Could be a little bit more clear. What's our score there? We got 2 in the chat. Yeah, I'd say it's a little washed. Maybe the Rosettas could have been a little sharper. Some good points of clarity up towards the top. But yeah, those bottom Rosettas could be a little bit, just a bit sharper. Cool. We will skip these. These are fun. Fun little guys with a little bit of thick foam. All right. And let's do a overall appealing impression on our seahorse friend, bottom right here. Is this executed well? Do we think it could be done better? Are we surprised? Do we think this is master of the craft? How feeling on that seahorse bottom right? 3.5 in the chat. I'd say that's about right. Pleasing, surprising. It's a relatively complex design to fit in such a small cup, so well done. All right. Okay, so that is our calibration for the session. Thank you for participating. And for my judges, we will do quite a bit more of that to get us aligned for the competition. For my competitors, if you have any questions whatsoever on scoring rubrics, please feel free to reach out. What makes a champion? So beyond all of the values that we've talked about in the beginning of this chat here, we want to see someone who is passionate about moving the field forward, passionate about latte art, someone who has the skills required to pour their heart out to get to create 3 beautiful designs back to back to back in a relatively quick time, and to there's a section in the rules that say a verbal presentation, an extensive verbal presentation is not required, and that is true. We don't expect you to tell us about the provenance of beans or processing and all the stuff that you might see on the barista stage, but we do want to hear about what you're working on. We want to hear about why you chose the design and why you're doing it. Treat your judges as if you were in a cafe and talking to your favorite regular. We want to feel welcomed. We want to feel a sense of hospitality, and yeah, we are here for each other. So that is yeah, that's what we expect from our champion there. Okay, open it up for just a little bit for final questions on anything we've covered today. Please feel free to raise your hand or unmute or throw it in the chat. Fluke, it is one competition. So our one round. Given this year's structure where we only have one qualifier, all 24 competitors are competing at once. So it is a one competition or one round. So different than last year. Yeah. And Kayla, we very much hope to have that information to you shortly, hopefully within the next week or so. But yeah, thank you for your patience there. I will shoot you an email because I know you've asked about that before. So yeah, so again, we'll put registration information on the link tree once we have it. And if you want to email uslacteam@gmail.com. We monitor that inbox as well, and we'll let you know as well as soon as we know. So yeah, so thank you for your patience on that front. Cool. if you have any other questions, let me just type this in the chat, but USLAC team@gmail.com will reach all of us. And yeah, thank you to all of our future volunteers for the competition. Thank you to the committee for working hard on this. Thank you to our sponsors, and so on and so forth. And thank you, competitors, for competing. We hope you have a fun time. We hope you enjoy the challenge. We can't wait to see what you've been cooking up. And yeah, we hope to see you soon. So yeah, so there's that email again. And yeah, we are more or less done here. So yeah, more information on uscoffeechamps.org. We will have this recording up on our link tree in just a few. There will be more information posted periodically on the USCC Instagram. So if you feel the need to subscribe to posts and stories on the USCC Instagram, you can do that as well. And yeah, that will help there. So again, the lottery for LAC is currently open. Feel free to nominate yourself or a friend. And yeah, all that information is there. Cool. So we are going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you all again very much for joining us. And yeah, we will see you very soon.